if you look at JFK, there's an official reason why Oswald was there. There's a claim about what weapon he used. Jack Ruby was distraught. They lined these things up to create a narrative and give you the official story. Even 9/11 has its official narrative, has its conspiracies. And then you get Vegas. No idea what that was all about. People are still demanding answers, but nobody knows.
Yeah.
Not that one I would say is on the level of, a 9/11 type event, but still people are saying what happened. Now you get the Crooks shooting of Donald Trump. There is no official story.
There's not even a story.
None. It's just somehow this guy got on the roof where no cops were, with a clean line of sight to the front runner for the presidency. And but for the grace of God, Trump turned his head.
Well, it's really interesting that both Ruth and Crooks both end up in commercials. The BlackRock commercial for Crooks and the other one for Ruth. And they're both part of a propaganda effort. They've both been filmed. They've both been in commercials, corporate commercials. And yet we're supposed to accept these lone nuts.
But there is no story. The reason to not have a story is there's no story to defend. So if you think about it, you could control Kennedy.
No, the reason you can't is because, I'll give you an example. There's 26 volumes of the Warren Commission. It took over a year to put what you're asking to be done right now.
And then Trump wins the presidency, so we're not going to get it.
Right. I mean, the Warren Commission, to their credit, put together a cockamamie story with 26 volumes of information. Now, granted, until Mark Lane comes along in 1964, a year later, and begins to shred the Warren Commission, nobody, as Alan Dulles famously said, no one's ever going to read this. I mean, who has read 26 volumes of the Warren Commission?
And we didn't have the internet. We had a Mockingbird media that was under control. There was only 3 channels. It's a lot easier to lock it down. Even into 9/11, the internet really hadn't caught on, and a lot of it wasn't out there. Now it's difficult, so they're better off just saying nothing. There's nothing to defend.
What's fascinating about the 9/11 truth movement was that it was burned CDs, which bypassed the mainstream media narrative and created this network of individuals. So everybody remembers Loose Change, 9/11. Second edition, that was the one that really took off. I worked at O'Hare Airport, and you've got what they call zone rooms. So I worked for American Eagle Airlines, which is their regional airline, CRJs and Embraers. So there were, I think, like 5 zones. I don't know. It's more than that for sure, maybe 10. Each room has 5 to 10, about 10 people in it. And people would come in with CDs and hand them, like, guys, watch this right now. And some guy sitting there playing Xbox, waiting for our planes to come in. And then they put on Loose Change. And all of a sudden we're watching this documentary.
Wow.
So before the computers, internet, copyable media, 3 channels. They all said the same thing. There's nothing else to believe. Handful of newspapers, typically are reading what? The New York Times, maybe in Chicago it's a Tribune or something, sometimes. And these are, as you mentioned, Mockingbird media. They're getting their statements directly from intelligence.
Yes.
Even recently, we had a story where a journalist was being given his stories by the CIA. This is only a few years ago. So I certainly still think it's going on. The technique they do today, though I do think they're losing power because of the decentralization of information technology. Here's what they do, because they've done this. And anybody who knows who this individual is, congratulations, by saying their name, because they'll sue me. So they contact early 20s intern reporter. And they say, I'm with insert agency. I've got information that needs to get out. I got to blow the whistle. I will be your source. It's approved the whole way through. The intelligence individual feeding this information is doing it intentionally, targeting.
Limited hangout, yeah.
Right. This intern, who makes $35,000 a year and is living off mommy and daddy's money to pay for their New York apartment, goes to their boss and says, I was just contacted by an intelligence agent who's got private information for me. I have a source. Look at this story. Donald Trump is a Nazi. And they go, and you have this person on the record saying this. Yes. So we can run it. Yes. We're going to make $1 million. The editors are thinking, as long as I can't be sued, we are going to get rich. This article will get 2 million hits. It's going to be 50 grand. We're going to do it again. You run the story. They then come back and say, my source is giving me another story. I want a raise. I want a promotion. Done. You are now a senior field reporter, a news reporter covering intelligence. we're going to have you go out and go on TV and talk about the story because you're getting so many views. This young person is going, it's all happening for me. It's all happening for me. The CIA and the intelligence agencies are like, they will say whatever we tell them to say. The stories that we want reported, they will do because it makes them famous. Then this individual finds themselves getting a $500,000, $1 a year salary, working for a prominent liberal magazine. Now they're working for some of the biggest news agencies in the world. Their name is appearing on every byline, and they are the foremost expert on how Donald Trump secretly works for Russia.
Yeah, no, I mean it happened. One of the files that we did pull out from the recent JFK files dump was the outing of Priscilla McMillan. Priscilla Johnson McMillan is a woman who interviews Lee Harvey Oswald in Moscow for a UPI-style news service in the hotel in Moscow. She later is the woman assigned to write Marina Oswald's autobiography by the CIA. She denied her entire life that she was CIA. She's outed by Max Good in his documentary on Ruth Paine, which came out 2 years ago, that I highly recommend to your audience.
The Assassination of Mrs. Paine.
The Assassination of Mrs. Paine?
I think that's it.
Yeah, The Assassination of Mrs. Paine by Max Good. It outs Priscilla McMillan, but the documents that I just received through the search shows for the first time that she officially was a CIA Operation Mockingbird journalist.
Thanks for watching this clip from the Culture War podcast. We're live every Friday, 10 a.m. to noon, so subscribe and come hang out.